Welcome back to Justice. Tonight, new details from inside bin Laden's compound. What was life like for the world's most wanted mass murderer?
Behind the 18-foot walls, life for bin Laden was surprisingly ordinary. Alongside at least 3 of his wives, surrounded by his children, plus 2 couriers and their families. Their favorite beverage? Coke and Pepsi, both delivered in bulk to the compound. On bin Laden's dresser are items you'd find in anyone's home: Vaseline, eye drops, and nasal spray. And reports indicate bin Laden was dyeing that infamous beard to hide the gray. The grounds of his hideout provided the 9/11 mastermind limited outdoor access. 7-foot walls on his balcony so he could get sunlight without being seen. And according to his wife, in the 5 years they lived there, bin Laden never left the 2 upper floors. Children were usually the only people allowed inside the complex to visit. And on occasion, some were given rabbits as parting gifts. On the outside, there were few signs of the world's most wanted man, although one woman delivering polio vaccines noticed the expensive cars inside. When she inquired about the residence, she was immediately told to leave.
Now that the hunt for bin Laden is over, who gets the $25 million reward? Joining us now is former State Department official Christian Whiten. All right, Christian, thanks for being with us this evening. How do they determine who gets the award?
Well, in this case, it's probably going to be no one. The program actually stems from before the War on Terror as we know it now. It comes from 1984, after the first spurt of Americans were targeted by Middle Eastern terrorists in Lebanon and places like that. It's designed more on the snitch model, where you pay informants to give you information. So there are provisions of the law that specifically prohibit it from going to U.S. government employees. And this really was a takedown that was orchestrated by the U.S. government, by the Central Intelligence Agency, by the Navy SEALs. So, unfortunately, it doesn't look like any one of them will be able to collect any of the reward.
Well, I understand that the rules say that government employees are not entitled to get it, but what about, we changed the rules and we split the reward money between the Navy SEALs and their families, or we hear about veterans all the time who are homeless who come back to, a country that sometimes isn't as grateful as it should be. Why can't we change the rules?
Well, we could, but I think the SEALs themselves would say that, several thousand American servicemen have died in combat since 9/11 in various wars. Others have won the Medal of Honor, great acts of heroism, and of course, we're extremely impressed by what the SEALs did. But, what sets them apart, it's hard to say. And like many Americans who've written their names into the annals of our history and entered the annals of American history, they're probably going to be doing it as members of the middle class and not as multimillionaires. One thing we could do, though, is celebrate them. We should have them back here. We could have them here in Los Angeles and have a ticker tape parade. And not just for them, but for all those who've made immense sacrifices in the various wars since 9/11.
And I'm sure everyone would agree with you. And this has certainly caught our attention, the nation's attention, in terms of the dedication and the perseverance of these Navy SEALs. But let's talk about how much money has already been given out in this State Department Rewards for Justice program. Do we know?
No, it's often kept quiet. It's a program. It's an odd program in that it's administered by the State Department's Diplomatic Security Service. And DS is sort of a strange bird. It's an in-house police force within the State Department. It's concerned largely with defending embassies abroad, defending the Secretary of State and foreign dignitaries visiting the U.S. So, again, more of that pre-9/11 law enforcement model than sort of the post-9/11 unified war on terror model. Awards are approved by the Secretary of State above a certain level. Sometimes they have to be coordinated by the Department of Justice. But frankly, it plays a role, but it's not as important as the other means of tracking down terrorists and going after violent Islamists, which comes down to information networks. And, we see how it was so important to use things like enhanced interrogation.
All right, Chris.
And how partners are really important.
Coming up against a hard break. Got to go. I want to thank you for being with us. And
Thank
that's
you,
it
Judge.
for us.